Hi, and welcome to the Thursday, May 11th version of Battle Apps. We're going to go over in this session a little bit more about how to build an app, kind of picking up from where we left off on Tuesday. And then we're going to look at the application the document, or the program document, the workbook that you've been provided. So I'd like to wrap up just with this last slide that I didn't quite have time for on Tuesday, and look at the total end-to-end process of how to build an application. We've talked about identifying your audience and the importance of that. We've talked about offering genuine benefits to your customer. We haven't so much spent a lot of time on the business model. That's not necessarily part of this competition. We have gone over some of the options, software as a service, for example, or a sponsored model or a paid model. If you're going to continue with an application and you need to bring it to life, you need to know how it's going to be funded, how it's going to be paid for. So, so there were options there that, should you, come up with a great idea and want to bring it to true fruition, you're going to have to look at those things. And then you're going to have to define the features. So you can define the features of your application. What is it going to do? What buttons are going to be there? What images are going to be there? What's it going to look like? What's it going to feel like? So this competition actually uses or applies the first four of these: identifying the audience, looking for the benefit, defining your business model, and then looking at your features. After that, we get into more technical issues, which aren't necessarily part of the competition, but I like to review them in any case. So they include choosing the right tech stack, choosing the right group of software or technologies that are going to be used to create your application. That's a whole other process in itself. We use the word tech stack because most applications now are built upon multiple pieces of software or multiple software technologies like JavaScript and C# and Bootstrap and Angular. These are words you may be familiar with, you've never heard before, but they are programming terms for different layers of technology that can be used to develop an application. So that involves putting together the right people and having the programmers that you have confidence in to sort of bring this to life, graphic designers, interface designers, the whole technical side of app development. After that, well, inclusive in that is putting together your development team. And then you work on developing or working on that user interface, that seamless user interface, where the buttons are, what the features are. I can give you an example of situations where maybe that user interface either works or doesn't work. A couple of years back, when McDonald's first introduced their kiosks, I remember going into McDonald's and trying to order, a hamburger on one of their kiosks. And I found I got partway through it or near the end, and I kind of got frustrated. I couldn't actually find what to do next, and I was a bit perplexed by it. I'm very familiar with software, so I would think I would have been able to figure it out, but nonetheless, it was a bit confusing. So anyway, I ordered my hamburger. I sat down to eat, but I stayed there for a while watching people use the kiosk, and most people using it actually abandoned the kiosk before they ever made an order. And what I determined in watching what was going on was that the interface was not optimal. And what I mean by that is if you picture one of these kiosks in McDonald's, they're basically an LCD TV that's turned on its side, so it's taller than it is wide. And the actual accept button or place my order button at the end appears at the very bottom of the screen. Now, for the average person of average height, when you're looking at the screen, that very bottom of the screen is actually just out of the way enough in order to not be seen. So that user experience actually, they would, I guess, lose sales or frustrate customers or something because of simply where they put the OK button at the end. So little details like that can be important, and that's one of the reasons why we want to wireframe and draw out and paper test, create a paper prototype of our application in order to see how it's going to work. And then the next options, security, security, security. Security is important these days. Security has always been important, I suppose, but in our wireless connected universe, people have private information that are available and that you'll be collecting from your end users, and you want to make sure that that is secure. Go-to-market strategy. Again, if you're going to take this to a commercial audience, you have to decide how you're going to do that. And that's a marketing exercise itself, a whole other task. And then finally, ship, 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 and update, update, update. You want to not have your application stuck in development purgatory, meaning that at a certain point, it is most responsible or the best idea to ship your product, and then deal with the small issues, hopefully, that will come up and make your application even better. It may sound like, well, why would I want to ship something that might have problems with it? Well, nobody wants to ship a product that has issues. But you can waste months or even years of time trying to make an application perfect. Most software developers, most software companies, everyone from Microsoft to Apple to Facebook, they'll release new software, and then quickly afterward, they'll find, or the public will find some issues. There's nothing like having a million people test your software to come up with problems, because they can test it on a myriad of devices and situations and places that you just can't. So there does come a point where it is good enough, and you ship it, and then prepare to update and fix problems as they occur. So that's what I'd like to pass on in the final version of that slideshow. Maybe what I could do now is kind of move over to look at the document I gave you, the workbook itself. So I think what I'll do here is I'll share my window for the workbook, and we'll go through that a little bit to sort of fill in a few more of the blanks. So step one, we've gone through. There's already a video online for the basic interface, or the basic form, contact information, name, basic questions about your application. So please take some time and watch that previous video. What I do want to do now is go down to more towards the bottom of the application, where I've got a couple more fields of information to be filled in. So this illustration is an illustration of a common app development setup. You've got a front end, which is your phone. You've got a web server on the back end that has your information, data, whatever's happening in your application, and that often draws upon a database. So I've sort of drawn a database as another component there. I know most of you are not developers, are going to be programmers, but what I'd like to do is give you a little bit of an insight into how that process is arranged, or how those parts of this process are arranged, and get some more information about your application. So number one, what information does your back end manage? If you look at most common applications, you've got a front end and a back end. I'll take Kijiji, for example. So Kijiji, on your front end, you might be listing a car for sale. So on the front end of the application, you take a picture of the car, you put the name of it, the title, you put a description, you put your price. Okay, so you do that all that on the front end, and then you hit submit or add or update or done, or whatever the button is called, and that information is pushed to the back end. Okay, pushed to the web server, pushed to the cloud, and that information with your car and your listing of the details all stored in a database. Okay, storing the database puts it in a format that it's easily accessible. The millions of records that will be there about the millions of cars that are on sale or for sale end up being searchable through this database more quickly than if you had a pile of paper, cue cards, or even text files on your computer you'd have to go through. So your back end takes the information that the front end has given it, and it does something with it. Okay, so what does your back end manage, and how does it work? Okay, what does your back end do? Does it do anything else to the information? Does it apply filters to the photographs? Does it spell check the text? Does it match up your submission with another submission? What does a back end do? So in the case of searching for a car, on the front end, you say, I'd like to look at all the cars in my area. So you click the button for that. The back end then says, oh, this person wants to see all the cars for sale. it makes a request, a query of the database, says, show me all the cars and the details. It brings it back, and then the back end pushes it back to the front end so you can see it. Okay? So a description of each of those processes for your application doesn't have to be long, but I'd like you to consider what's happening there. And then what does your front end do, and what does your user see and do? So sometimes the front end processes some information. So in our Kijiji example, the front end allows you to take a picture of your car or add a picture of your car. It allows you to add the text for the description and then send it along to the cloud, to the back end. And then in that process, what does the user see and do? What are they actually seeing on their screen? And I think the wireframing tools that we have will help do that. So I encourage you to play with mock-ups a little bit and get used to that, and draw out a couple of examples on paper and test some of your ideas to see how they look. Describing your app concept. So this is where you get to tell a little bit of a story. Again, try to be as concise and direct as possible, but it's a free-form field, so you can tell us what your application's purpose is and why it's needed and how it works, and fill in the rest of that there. And I've added a final set of fields at the bottom called features. So every app has core features, and what I'd like you to do is just briefly list the core features. Now I've provided 10 fields here to do that. It's not likely you'll have 10 features. You might, but most applications have 3, 4, 5 things that they do. What are the main features of your application? So don't feel you have to fill in all 10 of these options, but do identify what the main featured benefits of your application are. So with that, I'll leave you with this and invite you to the next session on Tuesday, and it'll be 11:30 again at the Sandbox. So we'll have 3 more sessions. We'll have next Tuesday, next Thursday, and then the Tuesday after on the 23rd when we finish our submissions. We'll be covering more information on those other sessions that have to do with development and identifying features, and we'll do some more wireframing. We'll maybe put a little more emphasis on the process of using mock-ups to come up with a paper prototype. Till then, I want to thank you for having taken part in the Battle Apps competition. If you have any further questions, email me at todd_graham@cbu.ca. And check out the Teams link. These videos are all going to be posted to the Teams link, and the other subsequent and ancillary information will be there as well to kind of help you get through the process. So, thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon at the end of Battle Apps.